Welcome to Soulful Conversations with Bithika Anand, exploring the person behind the lawyer. All of you will meet the who's who of the legal world with only one twist that we won't be discussing anything legal with them, digging deeper into their persona and exploring their true selves. I will encourage my guests today to introspect, look within, and speak with their inner voice. I'm also pleased to share that Bar and Bench, a renowned online platform, has happily come on board as media partners for this initiative, and they will be the official telecast partners for Soulful Conversations with Bithika Anand. Today, I have the honor of having with me Tejal Patil, General Counsel, Wipro Limited. Tejal is a legal leader whose expertise had made a lasting impact in the corporate world. Tejal worked at General Electric for over 18 years across Asia Pacific as General Counsel for its consumer, industrial, aircraft engine services, and healthcare businesses, and as a corporate general counsel for GE South Asia. She has been recognized in Legal 500 GC Power List, 100 Powerful Women in Law by ICA, and for her exemplary contribution to the compliance ecosystem. So, Tejal, so nice to have you with us, and thanks for this soulful conversation with us. So, we are not going to talk about your legal acumen. Here today, we're going to see if we can find the person as Tejal Patil. What is a person in Tejal Patil? So, can you also tell us, about your journey of becoming a general counsel? What was your inspiration or any challenges that you faced during this journey?
So thank you, Bithika, first for inviting me. It's always nice to talk about things beyond the law. Um, I never started off wanting to even be a lawyer. It happened by chance because I wanted to use the library in the government law college. But in terms of becoming a general counsel, I actually, after I had a baby, was looking for work again in Singapore. And I happened to get a contract work as a contractor for a general counsel who was leaving. And they only expected me to hold fort.
Okay.
But because I played the bigger role of the GC, I actually became one. So it wasn't something that, was a journey across various levels or anything like that.
So you had long stints, I would say, like 18 years is a lot of time. So what was that one thing or two things that, made you do 18 years in one company and shows a lot about you? Because I find very few people who have long stints and they mean a lot to the organization. So in GE, what was it that made you stay, and how was your relationship? I'm sure relationship was very good with the founders, owners, or whatever, with the leadership team. So, what made you stay in GE for such a long time?
So I think a couple of things. One is GE is an iconic company. It's known for its performance driven culture, it's known for its leadership development. So, the company itself was wonderful, had a beautiful culture, and somewhere where you could really grow. And the interesting thing in the 18 odd years that I was there is that I was actually never in the same role for more than 2.5 or 3 years.
Yeah, that I see in your profile. Yeah.
Right. And so it always felt like I was doing a new job, whether it was expanding a current job that I had or whether it was moving to another part of the company. So, in some sense, I would say same foundation, but very different experiences over those years. And that constant learning was something I think that kept me there. And some of sort of the best leaders I have worked with ever.
And so, how do you find? Is there any difference between your what you're doing in Wipro, or how is it different? Can you
So
tell
I
us
think
anything about it?
all my career moves have been very deliberate. They've been done with a view of me continuing to learn. So when I was in General Electric, I was sort of the Asia head or the group head in India for a US headquartered company. When I moved to Wipro, it's exactly the other way around.
Yeah,
I am
correct.
the headquarters of a global company. So I think very different because the buck really stops with you. Secondly, I think maybe I had some patriotism along the way, but I really wanted to work for an Indian grown company. Um, and a few things that were really, really similar in the two companies. You know, a strong sense of ethics, a very respectful, very professional culture. So I think there's some things you really want continued,
Yeah.
and then there are some indifferences that you enjoy. And I've always enjoyed different industries. So IT was something I had never done.
Okay.
So, you know, it was something, and it's the right time, you know, with data privacy, artificial intelligence, the technology kind of revolutions in the world. Probably just lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a happening time, like for the technology. Are there any key values and principles that guided you throughout this career?
So, couple of things. I think when you move in house, um, the one thing that you shouldn't forget is whose interests you represent. So I've always maintained that I am the general counsel for the company. It's not about an individual or a management, but what I always do is for the best interest of the company. And I think that's kept me very focused and steady. And I've never had to waver in the kind of advice I give because I'm very clear who the client is. The client is the company.
Right.
The other thing I think is really important is, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about performance. Don't pay attention to anything that wavers from performance. And I think those two things have really worked.
So, how large is your team here now? So, in Wipro and vis-a-vis GE.
So in GE also I had a very large team, 60 odd people in my last role. Wipro is more than double the size, um, and globally diverse.
So, going a little outside your both companies, are there any individuals who have influenced you in your life, outside profession or in the profession?
So I think I haven't had a single role model, but it has been learning from different people. So, I had a manager at GE, and many of them were absolutely fabulous. But I had one who really taught me the importance of details. I remember everyone on that call with him would be shivering because they didn't know which question he was going to ask, of which you didn't know the answer. But really understanding the importance of depth and of detail came from one person. Another one stood up for me, when sort of as a woman, I wasn't really regarded as the decision maker in the room. And, he made it amply clear to everyone that, it didn't matter. Um, so I think different bosses brought different pieces to the table. And that really helps because you pick up, on the small things. It's not sort of one iconic person. And I think, and I saw a couple of your earlier interviews. I think for a lot of women, their mothers are a huge inspiration.
Profession, yeah.
Having a working mother, having an independent woman in the house, it really is an inspiration for women in general.
Definitely, definitely. And what do you enjoy most being a general counsel? And are there any challenges that you have gone through, being a general counsel?
So I think there's two things I really enjoy. One is solving problems. I will even go into a restaurant because I'm doing it with a way of sort of solving his problem. I solve everybody's problems. Um, The so I love looking at a larger problem. It may or may not be only legal, but that motivates me. The other piece, really, being a general counsel, is looking at risk and looking at applicability as a bigger picture. When you are just advising on, say, law, you're looking at a really narrow piece, and you're telling your client, well, take it or leave it, I don't know. In this case, you're looking at the entire business, its impact, short term, long term. So I really enjoy doing that. And in terms of challenges, I think two things. One, is really hiring good talent. I think, um, you know, the legal fraternity has grown. I think there's a lot of bright minds out there, but really getting the right people, it's always a challenge. And I think the other piece is, just the ease of doing business, right? There are still a lot of sort of obstacles or compliance requirements, litigation, things that sort of stop you from moving with the speed that you would like. I know as lawyers we should love it, but it goes back to my problem solving piece where I just like to sort of move ahead.
And how would you describe your leadership style, and how do you think it has evolved, over the years?
So, everyone really starts off as an individual contributor. It's all about sort of growing yourself. But I think as you move into managerial positions or more leadership positions, I think my style has completely changed to coaching. I really believe that when you give people challenging assignments, you set a higher vision for folks. They do things that they never realized that they could. And I've really prided myself in my teams growing into much bigger leaders than I am today. So that's been a huge
That's
pride
very
and joy
nice.
for me.
I think the age and this age also, I think a lot of people need that mentoring and coaching, and I think it really helps them in grow in their profession. I mean, we also advise that we are also covering one coaching as one of the services, especially more in law firms where we need to coach the partners as to how to bring up their team and what issues they have and how to handle them. And so, what would you be if you were not a lawyer or not a general counsel or a group general counsel? What would you want to be?
Before I sort of accidentally went into law, I did want to do the Indian Administrative Services. It never happened. I
Okay.
don't know how I would have been as a bureaucrat. But the other thing I really enjoy is cutting hair.
Cutting hair.
I don't think, yeah, I used to love cutting everyone's hair during COVID till they let me. But that's
So,
something
you
out
wanted
of
to be a
curiosity.
hair stylist or hair artist or
Yeah,
something like that?
it's therapeutic for me. No one lets me do it, but I try.
That's really so drastically different from being a lawyer. So, any memorable moment in your life which has had a significant impact on you, even if it's not one, many you can tell us, like maybe a few, I would say.
Well, a couple of things. I think one, professionally, one of the things we did was to launch a compliance program for professionals in India. And compliance really had not grown as a separate profession, and the compliance head was not really that defined. And we launched this program in collaboration with ISB and CII to actually coach and train compliance professionals in the country. And I think we did 50 in one batch, and I think another 25 in the other residential program, designed everything ourselves, got in, the professors, etc. I think that was an amazing piece for me to sort of spread the message of ethics and compliance in the corporate world. So, that's something that I thought was a bigger purpose than sort of just my day job, which I think changed my perspective of what we can do in India, especially. There's so much bright talent here. Look, personally, I think I've always changed jobs, I have changed countries, and I think every sort of risky move I made has paid off. So very different from a lawyer who doesn't take risks. I think in personal life I take a lot of risks, and I'm just glad they've worked out.
So, any hobbies and any other passion you have other than working as a general counsel?
So I love my work. So I think this is something that's maybe some people don't understand, but I actually enjoy working. So I don't look for breaks from work as such.
Other than
Uh,
cutting the hair of
I don't cut my
people.
hair. I love cutting hair. But I like traveling. Most lawyers do because they get away at every vacation. So I've traveled a lot around the world. I watch a lot of movies. My Friday night is sit back, watch a movie, don't think. Um, so
Right, yeah, you do need a
not
break.
much time for else. Yeah, I don't feel like I do. Um, and full house, kids, uh, not much time to do much else.
Okay, all right.
But I've never had a passion that I've regretted that I didn't have time for.
And sometimes you don't feel because the life is so full with other things, other than your work also. There's no really wanting that or have that need of doing something else, especially, for being as a hobby. So what would you advise to the new generation or young lawyers or even any lawyers, who are there could be two parts. One is the lawyers who have passed out from colleges, and also, so we could say for young lawyers who are just budding lawyers, and the others who are already lawyers. So, what would your advice be to them?
So I think a couple of things. One, don't take shortcuts. Uh, I think um, the new generations are really bright. I mean, I sometimes think newborn babies grow up to be brighter than a 3-year-old. The evolution is amazing
Hmm.
in terms of what they can do. But there's also this desire to have instant gratification. And, like when you ask a lot of young people, what do you want to be? They will say, I want to be rich. That
Yes.
is not um, the goal. So I think don't take shortcuts, work hard, there's no substitution for that. And be authentic, be yourself. There's a lot of great things they bring to the table. Their enthusiasm, their energy, it's infectious.
Yes.
um, so if they just put their heads down, they will really do well.
So, anything on spirituality, does it play a role in your life? Do you? What are your thoughts on that?
So I believe there is a God, but I have a direct connection. So we kind of talk remote. Um, but whenever I've had a need, sort of, or there have been issues, or something's gone wrong, I actually take a step back and distance myself from the issue and say it will pass. Because the one thing I do believe is change is constant, and
Hmm.
there's many things that you can't really control.
Correct.
So that's helped. I think the philosophy has helped. But I don't meditate or do yoga. I don't sort of do those things. Um, if I'm stressed, I need to do something. Like I actually need to go and solve something, or I need to go and do something physical. Uh, but other than that, it's always been this sense of there are some things in your control and there are some that are not. So leave it to those who know best.
Yeah, right. then what would, other than your designation that you have, what would you want people to remember you by? Like other than a group general counsel or
You
a
know,
general
I would
counsel.
say the word that comes to mind is like catalyst. You know, someone who pushed you to do more than you thought you could do. Um, that would be nice if they remembered me like that.
Anyway, thanks Tejal so much. And I'm sure we will meet and we will know more about you as a person rather than a
But thank
lawyer.
you. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you, Tejal, so much for your time today.